Aden, we haven't been able to speak with you in a while. How have you been, man? I mean, I know you were going through some recovery stuff and being able to finally get back out on the mat. How you feel?
It feels good. It feels good to finally be back out here, training with some of these guys. I was out here in January for the camp then, and then I wrestled in Bulgaria in February just because I didn't want to go to the ranking series first thing back. But it feels good. It feels good to finally be back on the mat and getting back to doing the things that I love and trying to, perfect my game to become the best wrestler I can. And, just preparing for Vegas, that's kind of the big thing right now is preparing for senior world team trials before anything else.
Before we talk about Vegas and being out here in camp, have you been able to really reflect on, obviously, your U20 performance? And obviously you had a really bad injury and were able to really go through that and coming back and getting the bronze and chaotic matches throughout that time, right? Have you been able to really reflect on that?
Yeah, I've watched all those matches over. It took me a little bit to actually want to watch the Hungary match just because it hurt a little bit. But I watched all those matches over and over again, and I'm happy with the way I wrestled. I'm happy with the way I carried myself and the way I competed, especially with an injury. Versus Hungary, it was just kind of like I was more worried about my injury and trying to sustain it, right? Make sure it didn't get worse. And then eventually I was like, you know what, it can't get worse. I might as well just go out and try and score, try and win. So that's exactly what I did after that. And once I kind of made that mental switch of I'm gonna just go out and wrestle instead of going out and trying not to hurt myself even more, that's when I actually really started enjoying. I started enjoying what I was doing, and looking back on it, I actually really enjoyed and really thought I held myself well, I carried myself well, and I wrestled, to the best of my capability. Walking into that tournament, I was one of the favorites to win gold, and then with the injury, just kind of, I wasn't even sure if, people weren't sure if I was gonna place. So going out there with the injury and still being able to get bronze is still a huge success and accomplishment in my eyes.
Obviously you're training, this is a big camp. Talk about the size of the camp. I mean, you have a ton of number ones here, really being able to get the best training for you. Talk about this camp.
Yeah, I mean, it's super awesome. It's super cool being able to be with obviously some of these guys and being able to train with some of these guys. It's awesome having, Adam, Colton, Joe, Freeman. This is probably like Zach Bronigal. It's probably one of the bigger camps we've had for the heavyweights, so it's super awesome to be here and be able to get the top look, or to get different looks from these top guys, to be able to kind of help fix the things that need to be fixed, but also help just perfect the things that I'm already doing.
Obviously you're a heavyweight and you watch NCAAs, you're still an NCAA athlete. I mean, talk about the heavyweight scene and especially that finals match. I mean, that must be crazy, right, when you're watching that?
Yeah, that finals match was insane. I was actually out in Cali training with Robbie Smith last week during the NCAAs, and we were watching that together. And that whole sequence went down, and we just both looked at each other. We're like, "What just happened?" I think the heavyweight scene has just got so much more contested to where you don't really know who's gonna win on any given day. It's kind of like, I mean, it kind of proves that everyone thought Gable would just walk through it, and he did. He had a good tournament, but then eventually, sometimes you just get someone who just had it's their day, and I'm super happy for Wyatt. I've talked to him; he's a great guy, so I'm super happy for him. And like I said, the heavyweight weight is so contested that it's if you have your day and if you consistently have your day, then it's hard to beat.
I know I mentioned this to Adam already, but I'm going to mention to you too that 7 out of the 8 heavyweights that were all Americans were representing Team USA at some point during their career. Again, you were talking about contesting. What does that mean to you that that hey, all these all Americans or most of them are going to be on Team USA or fighting to be on Team USA?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of shows the work that all of us put in, right? I was Adam's training partner for the Olympics, and Joe had wrestled in college, Adam wrestled in college, Jack's at Illinois, right? And I think with stuff like that, it shows that wrestling outside of your collegiate season is actually super impactful in a good way. Whether you wrestle freestyle or Greco, it doesn't really matter. I think as long as you wrestle outside of the season and you don't only train folk style, I personally think it's a fabulous thing for everyone. And it shows that like 7 out of 8 wrestled on world teams this year, or world teams in the past, and I know a couple others that like coming up next year with me in it, like we've all wrestled on a world team or a Pan Am team or something, so we've all represented USA. So it also gives us that competitive edge for each other that we have to try and beat each other, but also still get better.
Finally, the recovery process is going good. You wrestled overseas. You're wrestling really well. What's the process for you, and how excited are you for the U.S. Open coming up?
I'm super excited. I'm super excited to finally get back, kind of on home soil, wrestle in front of the USA crowd. It's fun going overseas and competing, obviously, but I really enjoy being able to compete within the country because there's a bigger crowd and a better support system for me and for everyone else, and I think I'm super excited for that. My recovery is great. I'm fully cleared, so I'm just ready to kind of get locked and loaded. And I'm excited to compete in Vegas and just kind of show everyone that I haven't lost what I had beforehand.